Well, what do you think? Should we finish our pillow today? Let's do it. Hi everyone, Cristin here, and I'm hoping that today we will finish our Lucky Us pillow because many of us are getting ready for spring showers, the quilt that comes up next. Our sponsor for that is Daylily Fabric Shop. If you haven't already purchased your supplies, make sure and get those. We will be starting our group project very soon as I start seeing that everyone has received their supplies. So let's go ahead and talk about what we need to do to finish today's. So we are going to work on the inner border and the flange and the back fabric and then a little something else. If you know me and you've been following along with our group projects, then you know I like to add a little something as the last step. So we'll get there. Let's go through it in parts. So the first one is going to be the inner border. And we received this long piece of fabric, and I backed the entire thing with fusible stabilizer. I think that will make it easier to cut. So we are going to cut 4 strips, one for each side. So 2 of our inner border strips are going to be 1.5 by 16.5, 1.5 by 16.5, and then the other 2 are going to be 1.5 by 18.5. So obviously we're going to do the 2 16.5 first and then the 18.5. So go ahead and cut your fabric into strips. Okay, and once you have your strips, like I said, 2 of them are 1.5 by 16.5, and then the other 2 are 1.5 by 18.5. And I do back these with fusible stabilizer. Like I said, I did the entire strip. That made it easier for my cutting, and we are going to want these to be quilted, and so we want to make sure that we don't get puckering. So we're also going to need batting since we are going to quilt these. So I like to do it a 1/2 inch smaller than the cut size. So that would mean 2 pieces that are 1 by 16 and 2 pieces that are 1 by 18. I haven't cut mine yet, but that's what you want for your batting. And I'm going to show you the newer technique on how to attach our batting. So I'm sure you saw it if you did the Winter Stash Buster pillow with me. So we're going to go ahead and use that same technique for doing our inner border. There is a very cute border design from Kimberbell. It's called St. Patrick's Border 1, I believe. And it has a really cute rainbow for the inner border and a cute St. Patrick's theme for the outer border or the flange that we're going to use. So we'll go into that a little bit more, but for now just make sure you've got your strips ready, and we're going to go ahead and get started on the inner borders. All right, and there we go. There is my batting. So like I said, you want 4 pieces, 1 inch wide, and then 2 of them are by 16 inches long and 2 of them are by 18 inches long. This is for our inner borders, our batting. I'm using Warm and Natural. You can use whatever you have on hand. Kimberbell project batting works great too. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, the next step is to attach our batting onto our inner border fabric, the back of our inner border fabric. So this is a little bit different than the past way that we used to do it, but we did it this way for Candy Cane Lane and for our Winter Stash Buster pillow. This technique was taught to us by Kim herself from Kimberbell. And so all we're going to do, if you have that spray, you could just spray it, attach it on. I don't like this spray. I think it is messy. So I use this Elmer's glue. There's a link under this video. It's, I think, the best stuff ever. I'm quite happy with it. It goes on purple so that you can see what you've done, and then it disappears like super quick. So that's what I use, and it works really great for me. So I just add a little bit onto this and attach it on. So what I like to do is have a 1/4 inch seam allowance on each side, including the ends. And then I just keep adding on some glue and folding it down. And you want to take a little bit of time to get it just right because you want this centered. That's what's giving you your seam allowance. We are going to bypass the steps in the quilting design and just do it this way. It saves us a couple of steps, And it's really easy. So you can see you're just adding on a little bit of glue and folding it down, getting it in the center so that we have a 1/4 inch seam allowance on all sides. And this just makes it really easy, I think. So go ahead and do all of your batting onto your inner border strips, and we will get started with the quilting. And one little tip too is when you get to the end, you'll see that it's actually longer, even though I cut it to the exact right size, the 1/16 for this one. It still came out a little bit bigger because you're pushing it down. So what I do is I just cut the end because I want to have my seam allowance. So I'm going to just trim. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you can see then I've got my seam allowance still. All right, and then once you have your 4 pieces of inner borders backed with your batting, then we are ready to do our quilting, all 4 pieces. Hey everyone, so for those that want to merge 2 of the border designs into one hooping, I'm just going to show you real quick how to do that. I am currently using Embroidery Essentials, and it opened to my 5x10 hoop, so I'm going to go to this preferences folder and click on hoops, and then click on my 6x10, and there's my 6x10 hoop. So then I would go to file. Actually, you can do it this way easier. So I downloaded the here it is, the border. So I downloaded this border from Kimberbell today. It's a direct download, St. Patrick's Day 1 for the border. And I'm going to do the block by block method. So I click on Pez, which is for My Brother machine, and it automatically pulls up all the different designs that are available. So I'm going to choose the 1x10. I'll double click on that and it brings it to my hoop. If I click on that, I can move it over. There we go. Line it back up to the middle. All right, and then I'm just using my 6x10 hoop. You could do more, it's up to you. And then I'm going to bring in that same file again. So 1x10, it's that cute little rainbow, and I'm just going to move it over. So it's funny, if you click, like, it thinks that this is an empty area, so you actually have to click on stitching. Even though we know there will be fabric under there and it's all one big item, but it's really not. So, all right, so that's 2 in one hoop, but it's going to do all of the one on the left and then all of the one on the right. So I would rather merge the designs. I haven't done this in Embroidery Essentials yet, so give me a minute while I check it out. So if we have, that's the placement stitch for the batting and the tack down for the batting. So the same one would be here. So let's see if I can just click it and move it. Move earlier. Do I have to do that in each one? I guess so. Oh, there we go. I wonder what was different. All right, so I can move it up to this spot. There we go. Interesting. So I wonder, so I'm going to just right click on it and say move earlier, and it'll go up 1. All right, so then I have our placement stitch for the batting on the first one, and then the placement stitch for the batting on the second one. And then here's the tack down for the batting on the first one. Now I want to get that second one up here. And I don't know what I did differently. Seems if I pull it over to the right, it lets me bring it up. All right, interesting. All right, so there is the tack down of the first one and the tack down of the second one. And then here is the placement for the main fabric and the placement of the main fabric. So again, I want to bring this up to its matching part. All right, so placement and placement. All right, and then the light orange with this light orange, bring it up here. So that's very easy. All right, so there's the left one and the right one, and then the design, and we'll bring this one up as well. So you could, I'm just going to right click on it and say move earlier. Let's see if that did it in the right order though. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, it brought it all the way to the top. So I'm going to just bring this down. See if that does it. There's one and there's one. Interesting. So it still has it as a second item, but it's in the right order. Okay, so then we have them all together. You could go as far as, what is it called? Utility color sort. You could color sort these, but I want to warn you that there's an awful lot of, let's see, blue, orange, blue, light orange, turquoise, turquoise. All right, so my concern is that if we say color sort, it's going to put these blues and oranges together. The orange actually won't because it's orange and light orange, but both of these blues are the same. So if we just change the color, then it should, let's say we've already got turquoise, so, oh, this is on the palette. We want it to go on thread so that we have more color options. So I'm just going to say marine. And then for this other blue, we have blue, blue, orange, orange, marine. So this one we want to change to marine. And when we do that, we can click on the palette now that we've chosen the marine and click on it. And we have the marine. So we have blue, blue, orange, orange, marine, marine, light orange, light orange. And then we have turquoise and turquoise. I don't know if it's going to group these two. We'll have to see. All right, so let's do color sort. It's in this utility and then color sort. And again, this is my first time doing it. This design page has been sorted but not reduced. So it didn't combine the steps. I wonder if it's because of these force applique. Let's take these off. Well, let's see if that does anything. Ah, we did it. All right, so it was taking off those little, the little specific information over on the side there. That did it. So now we have one for the placement of both sides and the tack down of both sides and the placement for the main fabric on both of them and the tack down of the main fabric on both, and we have the quilting design for both. So that's perfect. So one thing is, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I am going to show, here come the dogs. Hello. So I am going to show you how to do this without having those first two steps. So if you wanted, you could click on this first one and click delete, and the second one and click delete. I'm going to keep it so that I remind everybody that doesn't have software to bypass these steps, but you could easily take those two steps out if you choose. All right, so don't forget, when you've got your design how you want it, then you want to go to File, Save as. If you do a file save, it's going to save over your original design, and then you'll always have this double. You don't necessarily want that. So I'm going to do a save as. I'm going to do save stitch file as. So that working file is just if I wanted to come back and make changes, but I've already got it how I want it. So I'm just going to do a save stitch file as, and then I am going to name it. Let's see, it went to my Lucky Us folder. I'm going to go to my folder that has these designs. What was it? There it is, St. Patrick's one, embroidery files, block by block, Pez, and then only do this if you feel comfortable, but I'm going to click on this one which saves it as that name, but I'm going to change it. So don't do that if you think you'll get distracted or anything, but I just clicked on that just so that I have the beginning part of the name without having to type it all out. So now it says all the same as my 1x10, but it says double at the end so that I know that there's 2 of them in this, and just click save. And then I'm going to save it to my USB drive and bring it over to my machine. There have been a lot of people asking if you can automatically send it to your machine, and I've heard that people with a Solaris and a Luminaire can do that. I have a little thing on a little logo on my machine that says that it's wireless ready, but I also heard that you have to send it to Brother software and then send it to your machine. Seems like an extra step to me. This seems pretty easy. So I'm just going to do this. As you know, I am learning this software. I'm brand new to it. So I will continue sharing little tidbits as I learn. There's one that I wanted to do the other day, but I ran out of time. So there are more tutorials coming, more little tips and things that make it easy. So for now, I need to get started on my inner border for our luckiest pillow. Hey everyone, so I was asked how to transfer files from the computer after I changed them on Embrilliance to the embroidery machine. And like I mentioned, I use my USB drive, but I've also been asked how to do that, and it's super simple. So let me just show you. So after you are in your Embrilliance program and you hit File Save As, then all I do is I get my USB drive, I put it in my computer in the USB slot, and it will automatically pop up. So there's my USB drive, and then I hit Control N, which means new, I think, and then it will open up that same drive. So I have USB drive G and G, and I'm going to just go to where I have my quilting design that I just made. So it is Kimberbell Borders. Right here is where I saved it. You could save it to your desktop. That makes it really easy too. I just save it in the same folder so that I can find it easily. So you can see where I wrote double and double. So all I do is I click on that and I hit Control C, copy, and I click over in my USB drive and click Control V to paste it there. And same thing with this one, Control C, and then bring it over here, Control V. You could also drag and drop, but I like to copy it so that when I'm done with it on my USB drive, I just delete it and I don't have to worry, oh, did I save that? If I'm always copying it, then it's just a copy of that file and I never have to worry about something being off of my hard drive. I think that even if you moved it over, it creates a copy instead of, but that's computer specific. So some of them don't do that. So just get in the habit of doing a Control C, Control V, and then like I said, I have the 2 folders open so I can easily see them and just copy it over to the folder. So that's what I do. That's what works for me. When I'm all done, I take out my USB stick and bring it over to my machine, and you can see that was super easy. I hope that helps. Okay, so let's talk quilting. So I am going to use my 6x10 hoop, and I just made a little video on how you can double up if you choose to do 2 of your strips in one hooping at a time, because we have 4 of them to do. Let me grab those, sorry. So I am going to do 2 of the 16 inches and then 2 of the 18 inches at a time, and that'll just cut down on the hoopings and make it a little bit quicker. You don't have to do that, it's totally optional. So that's one thing. The other thing is, let's talk hoop size, or not hoop size, sorry, quilting design size. So I am going to do the 10 inch, which I pulled up in software, and it's 9.45 inches. So if I do 2 of those, it's 19-ish inches. So that will be fine because I have my batting with my 1/4 inch seam allowance on each end. So it's not going to matter that it will run off. So what we'll do is we'll just keep quilting until we get to the end. It'll take 2 hoopings. So that first hooping will do the full thing, and I'll show you that. And then the second one, we're just gonna let it run off onto the end of the stabilizer. because we don't need all of that. We really only need, for the 16-inch one, we only need 16 inches, and we're gonna do 19 inches of quilting. So the extra will just run off onto the stabilizer, and that is totally fine. It doesn't matter. For the second one, they are 18 inches long. We need 18 inches. So again, we're gonna do the 19 inches. We'll do that 9.45 twice is what we're gonna do. And the excess, there will be a little bit of excess, and that will just run off onto the stabilizer. It's not going to matter. So that's what I'm doing. You can be more precise if you want. You can do like, it also depends on your hoop size. So like I said, I'm using my 6x10 hoop and I'm doubling it up. If you have a 5x7 hoop, then you would need to do a 5x7 design. It's not 5, sorry. It's a 1x7 design, and you would do it 3 times. And again, on that third one, you would just let the excess run off onto your stabilizer. So it's up to you what hoop size that you use, but you want a 1-inch width, just like our batting. We want 1 inch and then times the length of your strip. This strip is 16 inches long and 18 inches long, because remember, we have 2 for the sides and then 2 for the other sides, or the top and bottom. And they're going to be 20 inches, a little less than 19 inches. With the quilting, depending on which one you choose, it will all work out. Again, it doesn't matter because we have our batting already on our strip, so it's not going to put any batting into our seams. All right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so after you have got the placement stitch for the main fabric down, then you're going to take your fabric strip that has the batting on the back, and you're going to line it up within these 2 rectangles. But I like to leave the top, like your automatic instinct would be to put it within that square. Here's the top. But what I like to do is put it a little past that, so that the quilting starts just a tad lower, so that you've got your seam allowance, right? So this part is going to be sewn into the seam anyway, so I like to have it out just a bit. That's my preference. Do what works for you. And then once you have that, you can tape it in place, so you know that it's not going to stitch that top part that's past that first line. Sorry, you can't see the line very well. And then after the box also, it's not going to stitch. So you're safe to put your tape in those areas. So here, let me see if this will help show it. So see this line right here, I like to put it just before that, and then you can put your tape just behind here, because you can see that it's not going to stitch after that box right there. So get it all straight. It is going to run the basting stitch to hold these 2 lines in place, and then it'll hold it in place. But until then, until that basting stitch, you want to make sure that these are as straight as they can be with tape. Ta-da! All right, let's go ahead and run the basting stitch. All right, so once you have your first two, let's just talk about one since you might not be double hooping or doubling up. So once you have your first set of rainbow done, then you're going to fold it back, and you can see where the quilting ends. You can see from your stabilizer, the end of the stabilizer, and you're just going to fold it back from that point and put that at the top of the box. So right there, and then bring it down and tape it in place. And then if you did two like I did, you would do the other one as well. Same thing. So you can see where the quilting ends, and you just put that right up at the top and then fold it down once you have it in place, and make sure that it's all straight, and then tape in place. So you can see we only have this much to do, but the box ends down here. So you would just let it run off. It's just going to go onto the stabilizer, but we've got our batting stopping here, so it's not going to go into our seam. So it doesn't matter. You can even watch it and just stop it when it gets toward the end. That's usually what I end up doing, just because I get impatient, I guess. But it doesn't matter. You can just let it run off into the stabilizer. All right, so now we're ready for our second hooping of the first set of strips. One other thing is that as it's running that basting stitch, when it gets down to here and then gets back up at this part, I always stop my machine or just slow it down by using this little button here. And if you just hit stop, then when it starts up again, it goes very slowly. But I do that just so that the needle doesn't come and move the fabric. So I just watch this part. All right, did you finish your inner borders? So after the inner borders, we're gonna do the flange. So the flange comes in one big long strip, and we are going to cut this to two pieces that are 2.5 by 18.5, and then another two pieces that are 2.5 by 22.5. So let's go ahead and cut it. I did back my entire backing with fusible stabilizer. It makes it easier to cut, and we're going to use most of it, not all, but most of it. So anyway, let's go ahead and get our cutting done. All right, and there we go. We have 4 pieces of batting. Like I said, for the flange, you are going to want 2 of them that are 2 by 18 and 2 that are 2 by 22 for your batting. And those will go with our outer border, our flange fabric. And like I mentioned, there is a Kimberbell border design. I haven't bought mine yet, but that's what I'm gonna buy. It's $12 on the Kimberbell website. It is a direct download. It's called St. Patrick's One Border, and it's really cute. It will work for our inner border and for the outer flange border. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, and just like we did for our inner borders, we're gonna go ahead and adhere the batting to our border fabric. This is for our flange. So you want to make sure to center this in a way that you've got a seam allowance on each side and the end, and just keep adding on that batting. And like I said, you can use a spray if you prefer. I love this glue stick. I think it's great. That purple makes it so easy to see, and then it dries immediately. All right, so go ahead and get all 4 pieces with your batting. All right, so once you have your inner borders, we're going to need to do the flange borders as well. For our inner borders, remember we used a 1x10 and we doubled it up. Optional, totally up to you if you want to do that or not. But for the flange, we need a 2-inch width. So we are going to go to File, New Page to start a new one. And then let's go to, we need to, oh, it's at a 7x12 hoop. Perfect. That's what I was hoping for. All right, so let's go to, here to Merge Stitch File, and we'll bring in one of the designs. So if we did the 10-inch, the 2x10, let me see, what are our options for 10? So there's a 2x14, a 2x7, a 2x12, and a 2x10. All right, so if we did the 10-inch, it would only equal to less than 19 inches, and one of our borders is 22 inches, so that's not big enough. So if we do a 12-inch, then it would be less than 24, and that would work. So if you have a smaller hoop size, say that you have a 10-inch hoop, your 6x10 hoop is your biggest hoop, then that would be fine for the one that is the 18-inch. Remember, we have two sets of strips. We have, for the flange, there's the 2x18, 2.5x18.5, and 2.5x22.5. So the 2x10 will work doing that twice for the shorter one, but for the longer one, you're going to need to hoop again or use a bigger hoop. So I can do the 2x12 twice, and that will be perfectly fine. And actually, that's what I'm going to do. But again, if you have a 6x10 hoop, then you would do it 3 times. So you could do the 2x10 3 times, and like I said before, just let the excess run off the side. Or you could do the is there a 2x7? I said that right? Yep, 2x7. So you could do the 2x7. Actually, that would be a little small too. You would have to do 4 of the 2x7. So those with a 5x7 hoop, it actually probably would be enough because it would be close to 21 inches and we need 22. I think personally I probably would just hoop it again and do it again because you really want 22 inches of quilting. But again, your pillow, your way, do it however you want. I am going to do this 2x12 and I'm going to do it twice. So I am going to double it up. I would just click on it and move over, keeping it in the middle from this center guide here. And then I wonder if you could just, you can, I bet. Let's do that. So Control C, Control V. And look at that, I didn't have to import it in again. I can just, it brought it in right on top of the first one and I can just move it over. Easy, I like that, that's nice. All right, so just like we did before for the inner border, we're just going to reorder these steps and we're going to keep in mind that the blue is the same on both, so we're going to want to change that again. So all we did before is we clicked on it and move it up. So when I do that, it likes to change. Let's see. There we go. I don't know, sometimes it thinks I want to change the name and sometimes it knows I want to move it. So if I right click on it, I can say move earlier and it should just go up 1. So there's the left side and the right side, perfect. And then we want to do the same for the orange. So we'll just bring this orange up. There we go. Oh, I keep not doing it quite high enough. So right click on it, move earlier, and there we go. So we have the orange for the left side and the orange for the right side. Those are the tack down stitches for the batting. All right, and then we have the main fabric placement stitch and another one over here. So let's bring this up. There we go. So left side, right side, perfect. And then we have 2 more. So the light orange, we're going to bring this up. And we have the left side and the right side. And then the turquoise, same thing. We are going to bring this up. Oh, I don't think it let us do that if I recall when we did the inner border. All right, so let's just change the name on this one, we will change it to the color, go to threads, and I'm going to change it to marine. We'll change it to marine and say okay. And then for this one as well. And this one we can just click on palette and then we don't have to be unclear of which one. Marine, yes. All right, so we have blue, blue, orange, orange, marine, marine, light orange, and turquoise. So let's go ahead and go to that utilities and then color sort. And this design page has been sorted but not reduced. Let's see. Oh, so I think that means it's still going to stop. No, because they're together. Oh, because it doesn't take away any of the, well, it did. It merged them. I'm not sure. Still learning. But you can see that they are merged together, so that worked. I think I'm just not understanding all of the wording just yet, as I'm newly learning this software. All right, so now we have doubled them up in one hooping. I'm using my 7x12 hoop, and that gives me enough room. I could actually change it to my 8x12 and have it be a little bit more space. I think I'm going to do that actually. Just because you don't want to worry about your fabrics hitting each other, but they're not going to because they're going to stay right in here. I'll leave it. All right, so file save as, and I'm going to save the stitch file. And like I did before, I'm going to click on my 2x12, but I'm going to quickly change this to say double. I wouldn't want to save over my existing file. All right, and then click save. All right, and then I'm going to bring that over to my embroidery machine and stitch this out. And don't forget, I am going to bypass those first two steps. So if you're doing this on your software, you could go ahead and click on that and click the delete button and get rid of the first two steps. I'm going to leave them in just to be able to show everybody to bypass them if they're not using software. So this one's all ready to go, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, just like we did for the inner borders, we have the first hooping of the flange border, and then we're going to fold it back to where we can see that the first hooping is done, and put that up at the top, line it up with the box, and then pull it back and tape in place. All right, and you can see that we don't have very much quilting to do on this one. Just all of this part will run off onto the stabilizer. Here's an up close of the end of the previous hooping. Fold it up and put that above the box and pull it down and tape in place. Hey everyone, so I'm going to make a label real quick for the back of my pillow, and I'm just going to share how I'm going to do it in case you want to do it as well. Excuse Archer sighing in the background. All right, so file, new page, and I have my 5x7 hoop, which is perfect. So I'm going to go right here to merge stitch file, and I am going to open one of the designs from our Lucky Us pillow. So there's the clovers, the pot of gold, I think, or the vase. So that's really about all that there is that's already in the project that we're working on. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this clover one, and it's already got a box around it. So that's perfect because I'm going to stitch this out on felt, and then I'm just going to use this as my guide for sewing it onto the back fabric. So what I'd like to do though is personalize it. So the design is perfect as is. It's got the placement and tack down. I actually don't need both of those. I only need one, but it's great. All right, so I'm going to go up here to this A to add letters, and I'm going to type in my name and hit return. All right, and then I can go through my fonts and decide what I would like. I have a very small area, so I want something that's not too large. Let's see, I think I'll do this block condensed actually. I like that. All right, so I am going to use this button here. You can see it turned into a little circle so that I can rotate my design. And then I'm going to hit the shift button, and when I hit the shift button and any of the four corners, then I can resize from the center. All right, and then I am going to just move it. That's really good, just like that. That was really simple. I love the fonts on Embrilliance. They work so easily. All right, so this looks great. I think I'm going to curve it just a tiny bit more. Great. All right, and then I'd like to just add a date. So I'm going to go up to this A again and create another set of text. Oops, sorry, you got to do it in here. Highlight the letters right here where it says text, highlight that and write what you want, and then hit return. Oops, sorry, my mistake. I'm going to hit undo. So so if you click on the center green square like I did, then it moves that one number. If you click on the stitching anywhere, then it'll grab all of them together. Even though I don't have them grouped, that's how it works. All right, and then I think I'll just keep this same font actually. So I am going to curve it again, and I'm going to resize it again by hitting shift and one of the corners. And let's see how that looks. So you could add in, depending on the size of your name, you could add in made by and then your name. You could put Cristin over on one part of the leaf, and then, or your first name on the first part of your leaf on one parts of the leaf, and then the other part of your name on another part. That would be kind of cute actually. Lots of fun ideas. So you could also use several different designs. I'm going to keep with this. As you can see from the doors in my office, it's very late. So I'm just going to go for simple at this point. So I think I'm going to move. All right, I like it. Maybe I'll make it a little bit smaller. So to do that, I would hit shift, and then it goes right from the center. And this a tiny bit smaller too. All right, simple. That was great. So easy. All right, file, save as, and I'm just going to save the stitch file. And I am going to save it in my Lucky Us folder, which I have on my desktop. And I'm going to name it Clover Label. All right, and then I will save it to my USB drive and bring it over to my machine and add that label. If you decide to add a label, I just want to warn you that that flange, a few people on our winter pillow, and it looked fine, but on our winter pillow, a few people did it a little too close to the flange, and then you'll have a seam on your label, which honestly looked perfectly fine. But the way to avoid that is to move it over, I would say, at least 3 inches from the side and from the bottom, depending on where you want your label, but about 3 inches or so will give you enough room. So that was really simple, and like I said, I do stitch mine out on felt, and then I'm going to use my sewing machine to add it on. I like the look of the felt. It gives it a different element, and it's really easy and quick, so that's what I'm going to do. And adding a label is optional, but I like to add a label to most of my projects. So we're almost done on the home stretch. And today's shirt is this cute little chili snowman. It is from Embroidery Boutique. I added the chili word. I don't recall off the top of my head what font that is, but I will check and let you know. Maybe Sarah too from Stitchtopia. But anyway, cute little snowman. and with a scarf and earmuffs, and the shirt is from my local Fred Meyer.